Much better. So right now, without further ado, let's begin the adventures of Togainu True Blood Holidays version. Also, I will be mentioning the Seiyu actors will be mentioned in this gameplay. So, let's enjoy this. Start the game. Foundation. Hold on. Let me do settings. Read. There we go. Apply. Good. Good to go. A nation, the bearer of the collective identity. Citizens. As long as they remain nestled in the nation's symbolic manner, they need not to harbor doubts. Thus, there was a orders immediately dims. Third division. Humanity Third Global Conflict. XX AD. As a small island, nations of Japan rode to the wave to the high economic growth of the established or developed an ideology to begin to trend to the path of a fully fledged military state. Tolerant national ideology, generic global control of the public, civilization of soldiers through the militarized education system, of the prepared regulate that prompted the race of war. Or as it was thought, the nightmare was fought, for they exceeded the expectations. Leaving behind wounded and deep in the nation, security recovers this in the aftermath. Following the war, hastily implemented regularization of policy temporarily dividing Japan, East and West. Under the guidance of respected leaders, to the half of the efforts is starting to lessen the damage. For all the area spinning towards the walls of the urban settlements. There, despite the policies, the the results of generally nature began to function once again. They proclaim new mentally to break the people from the shackles of the past. The former capital was called Old regulate and of the past, being the forgotten, along to the nightmares of conflict. The country rising anew as ash, it was a cave out of the future it should have been. 5 years later. For the nations that have visited gates of the seems cracks, it had their grown worse than that has in reality, laden heavy upon Japan. The observed interpol ships and then having nation citizens beware. The abandoned from the capital of the old lands, rooted in tangles nested the crimes beyond the government's control of the country, remains a divide between the east and the west. Summoner's Point, one leader has emerged and united the two halves, but is burdened to complain in the walls of the as soon as both hesitate to step up. Moreover, the vision of the leader holds the nation other locking in as the test of the stands of the fictions, and the country teared and a brigade collapse. And out of the darkness gap, poison the devoured at the fatal light of the future once glimpsed, is the considering of the transgressions. Oh, intro. know that song. The ending theme in the animation. I know that song. That was a good intro. What is death exactly? He thought it was something beautiful. The body bags, gentle as their embrace, cocoon, and comforted in a human shape with him. He was gently pulled down the metal flex of the split in his jaw, revealing the mother object inside. It was the final form of soldiers, took it their return to the shelter. He found them feel beautiful. They looked just like they were just sleeping. All the activity as cases. Their heart no longer beat. Lungs are no longer through air. No thought the word within their brains. They haven't fallen into the internal mess. Was this death? What is it? Was it truly there? Was it to it? He has no desire to die. Yet he had no stronger attachment towards the life after either. One morning, it was a suddenly cases they exist. That would be all right. That would be all right. Suppose for some reason he didn't, despite he wanted to cling into life. What purpose would it have? Would it he's trying to the archive? What was the difference between life and death, besides the certainties of bodily afflictions? Such they would have dogs. As he listened to the sound of the fist meeting at their target. Oh, the man's voice is coming out sputtered as something indulged in the throat soon after he pressed the more and turned it. Let me check. There we go. Back to the game. Oh, Lost. Meet the protagonist. So, this is Akira. He was voiced by Tori, saved by Tori. He was other character roles by Mikazuki Modeshko for Tokyo Rambu, Shu from Diabolical Lovers, and Saito Hajime from Hakurogi series. Also, I'm going to play Hakurogi School Life eventually on February. Okay, back to the game. Starting from his false fist of the pleasantest tingle of the spread of the Akira's body as the bubbles of flow up to the carbonate drink. The other man knees on no longer to attack up to the attack supported his weight, giving the weight instinct to slowly to the ground. For a few seconds, in the wood world, the world moves like it is a silent movie, playing in slow motion, and the man is falls shatters it. Suddenly, erupted as storms of noise and more noise, with so many layers of sound chasing the once in an absolute assault on in the ears. All the one considering of the sounds come from the rough, ruckus types that composes this crowd. That one man gripped to the curious, both of them waited with it. He had looked down over upon the curious with pity, as he thought it was no more than any other question at his meals. But it was a short life. The match is over almost sooner than it has begun. Cries of regret of those who lost their best, mingling with the cheers of those victorious. Like a terrible boy reports, holding under the scoop of the clang of the Akira ascending smile. Axing in the thighs, they were slapping the shoulders and then rubbed it to the silver and returned the loss of the command in her arms. The light of the bearable, swinging in the darkness, compressed of the shadows, the cast of the spectators of the strange relief. Their bodies are filled with grimy alley of sparring heat. The crowd gathers with mixed bags of regular youth of the wet beyond his ears. The one thing I find them is a brutal contest of strength. Shaking his body's fist, Akira pushes his jeers into the cold alley beyond it as the fleet of the eyes of the frowner. He didn't spread a second glance at the man, it is just as fell. The air was a cold crisp. The light tugged at the zippers of the jacket a little further. The place it would be headed to look similar to the other, just like at least of the surface. Yet the atmosphere was a quieter, wasn't peaceful compared to the noise and din to the others. After turning through the narrow of the streets, it reached together to spot of the battle wave blaster participants. One day, someone just scribbled the words of restroom. It's bright red in a wall. Since little by little, people are beginning to gather here until it becomes in a haunted woods now. People luxuriate puffing their cigarettes, sweating and shipping the liquor and then tongues through the gaps in the other chatter. Many were active fighters. Among them there were two that was already retired, crowding up their passive glories from the sidelines. It looks like there's nothing in their gathering of delinquents. It might be unfair to say it was just like there were. Maybe through the fighters of strong center of the road, Akira made her way to the corner and sat down on the wall. The coldness of the asphalt, the jeans in his place. A sign escaped his lips. This fight was just come to his match. Akira has no spark to burn in the sign. Not much to the opponent. That wasn't all about he said could say. Not much to the opponent. It's a little stronger than as I thought, I guess. But for a long time now, there is now being a hiatus in some in regard to this fight. The more excited it got crowded, the less you wanted to do it. He thought it was the prize money, nothing more. Except once more, Kira leaned her head against the wall and drifted the ice skyward. Flawless moon hanging through the sky, right side. It wasn't until the sometimes after that Third World War at the end of all people gaze up to the sky like this. Before they remain in danger, it wasn't everyone's occurring below grounded in massive shelters. The rig tunnel established before the outbreaks of the Great War has been seen children and the parents of the subject rigorously military trained, all the civilians of the soldiers of the future. They were thought to kill, thought to die. But before the children could have seen the sent foot of the battlefield, the conflicts end. At the same time, the very nation that has suddenly chanted the death and destruction of something in a sunny smile, leaving the people the other shocked. Let us rebuild once more, the leader said, but on all hands, we would have created a future full of love. Such a violent president indulged. Wasn't it too much in the ass of the Crips? All of a sudden, the citizens found themselves forced into their families. One might expect in the family separated by the war that has simply reunited and continue to live their lives as before. Yet, this is not their reality. Instead, strangers as randomly assigned each other with a parent and a child. To suddenly there was under the roof as family. Of course, these are called families for the disaster. Many children could not accept their parents. Some grew pathetic of the unit's crumbs. The children, taught by the flight, found themselves lost in the new world. What was love? What does it mean? Unable to understand the things that was demanded of them, they endured through the awkward days of their families. Finally, their nerves and their worn down, comfortably they attend to this egg. In time, street fights, commonly referred to the blasters, become the outlet of choice of their youngsters. They have been an indicator of belief in our intelligence, the enemy until the ultimate whole honor. They had endured a rigorous training every other day. Whether the stance in the battlefield and suddenly a declaration of peace and rendered all other meaningless. For the children, the battlefield was the places that strengthened their hearts' content. To finally discover how felt the fight of their lives of their life. Chasing death, being chased in their turn. Who was the one seeing the moment of the blink of death? In pursuit of the answer, the children crashes in blasters. The government turns in a blind eye, doing out the murder being given the crime category prohibited by law. While until surge in the popularity of the CFC, it now drew participants in every declaration, including Yikamari. The rules, although established, the competitions of there were both in individual group fights. It was a testament to how the youth were hangered for the battles. And Akira was one of them. As he headed to the approach to the rowdy chattered of footsteps, Akira shifted his gaze from the moon. Two lanky silhouettes came to the halt to the front of him. Once there was a mall comment, his hair looks as someone had painted a chicken comb yellow. He flashes at him with a smile and raises his hand.
Yeah.
Another man, their words had been accomplice in the long black hair, painted it down the middle, stood in his appearance and it down Akira with a smirk. He clutches out of the bottle of liquor. Akira doesn't get to know the many people, but those two was accounted among their rare acquaintances. For the moment he was the first arrived here, they treated him like an old friend at first. He was just like that their words go on a year or two, but it seems like the whole unconcerned about the wanting to them around or not. And now, somehow as usual will talk to wherever he came here.
よ、アキラまた買っちゃったんだって。しかも一発系よ。あんたほんと強えよな、まったく。
Watching him, distracted a look at the Mohawk bandit as Ace popping down to the side of Akira.
見たかったね。エースのせいで間に合わなかったけどよ。
The long-haired bandit said D. In front of this two lip curls into the side grin. After the D and Ace presented a half-empty bottle of Akira with the similar expressions. It reported to the red label is to be repaired.
なんだと思う?
Akira has no interest in liquor. Any idea that it's supposed to be thinking like, it's making it like a pressure to...
なんだよ、もう祝いがいねえな。こいつはな、ちょっとやそっとじゃ手に入らねえレアモンのビールちゃんよ。高いんだぜこれ。アキラが勝ったっつうから行きつけんとこ頼み込んで出してもらったわけよ。つったってアキラ飲まねえんじゃなかったっけか。もう飲める年だよな、俺らと一緒で。
Akira gives an almost nod. Face lifted a chin and leans back with the supplement pointer to flip it to one of the distance.
いいな。こういうの気持ちが肝心だっつうだろ。アキラの勝利のために奮発したっつう俺様の友達思いの心だな。ラストに乾杯。
Ignore Ace. He raises the bottle with his overhead.
あてめえ人の話聞けよ。話し終わってからやれってんだよバカ。何勝手に乾杯してんだよ。
Ace leaned forward to snap at D. His eyes widened.
なけんだもん飽きた。ほら早く乾杯しろよ。
After shooting the glare at D, and Ace clears his throat.
やま気を取り直してロストの勝利に乾杯。
After holding the bottle overhead at the gas stove, Ace clanked the against the D's and down to the beer in one go. Lost. Was Akira's in blasters? Sometimes someone's come up with something's important in his step. Not that I only have wider than interest in Akira at all.
うまいなやっぱ。
With that deep sigh, this rapping this reeks in the liquor. Ace burst out of a hardly laugh. Dee, meanwhile, shrugged out the shoulders and tilted the bottle and drank the small syrup.
今回のは見れなかったけど、相手って結構な肉だるまだったんだろ。どうせまた顔色の一つも変えず、サクッと倒しちゃったんだろうな。
Here was regarding to the champion of this district, knowing the era raid. His long streak into the victories, unbroken up these days, even in the far-reaching fame of the name Lost. There was a time he was actually felt some zeal of the Blasters battle. But that is long since past. The fire in him is completely dies out, even in the ashes blown away into the wind. It has been a while since anything occurred, either to raise it or to dampen Akira's spirit. But unlike the senior interest to do, he thought it was the art of living. The winner of blasters were aware of the prize money. However, Akira had no desire to cash beyond the need to survive. He harbored into grand dreams, but it also didn't feel urged to die or see no need to immediately live.
しかもよ、また蹴ったんだって。今度はなんだっけかな。ほらなんか結構有名なでっかいとこ。本堂グループ？そうそうそれそれ。せっかくのお誘いをよ。
With a sharp clap, Ace pointed the fingers straight at D. Wasn't it unusual blasters winner that made a name of themselves a scout to the certain enterprise? Most came from the netherworld, but in these times, it's not like having to worry about putting food on the table is something I've never thankful for. Though success enough wouldn't have indication to the professional sports and once in a while. But none of them is interest to Akira. How many invitations did it turn down so far? Probably one of them could have counted one hand. The Hondo group scouted has been at a flash of the new money. Akira couldn't recall the face or anything he said. The fighting game sounded something to do. It didn't hate. It didn't symbolize that he would give it the thought of his future. The prize money, what did it give him without going to run short? He couldn't always pick up to the work that these days of labor. That is if extend his planning, but it was as he thought necessary. The conversation between those two rolled as of regardless. Akira employed the spice again, he looks at the surprising. Starting up, you look up close enough. Their hands was aligned in scars, with confessed under the nails and black in the dirt of the grit. For the sweat here to the muscles of overtext and rewarded scenes pretense. Yet in the rank of the blasters, contents in the eager of the frustrations. Earning the riches is shown in the sign of thing.
俺たちで組んで優勝狙っちゃおっか。最強サンバカギ兄弟とかってチーム名にしてさ。ネタチームかよ。
One minute sipping it away, Dean managed to drain his bottle. Then it took an empty vessel and just, and Ace couldn't help it but laugh out loud. Most people are completely swept up in their drunken river.
最強っつえばさ、ペスカコシカみてえになってみてえよな、いっぺん。
Ace vomited dreamily, wiping his tears and laughter could out of his eyes. You see, Akira couldn't quite make out what I said. Didn't even unfamiliar to him.
え、うっそ。
That was Akira's puzzled expression. Ace indeed what it is.
アキラまさかペスカコシカ知らねえの？ガキでも知ってるぜ、多分。ありえねえ、超ありえねえ、ブラスターのチャンピオンが。さすがだぜ、仙人見て。
Being openly mocked by the sound of Akira moves. But suddenly in the darkness of his face, he kept silent. Pleased at being acknowledged both for more than the champion. Ace could have small expression, he waves it in index finger side to
親
side.
切な俺様がボスに説明してやるや。ペスカコシカってのはな、通称コート率いるちょっと前に一世を風靡したエリアゴースト出身のチームや。そらもう今のアキラみたく連戦連勝負け知らずでさ、向かうところ敵なし、そう最強チーム。
Ace's fist was clenched as it tumbling, as he recalled for thrill to the past of the battles. The story sparks had flickered in the organization and in Akira's mind. As I've heard about something about before, I couldn't recall when.
まあ、凶悪の凶を取って最強とも呼ばれてたけどな。
Upon these added remark, Ace's face has been alright with the examinatory service.
悪名高いことでも有名だったからな。めちゃくちゃひでえこととか平気でやってたもんな。で、そういう凶悪なことをいっぺんやってみたいと。は？
He laughs at a mysterious grin, crosses his arm. Ace focuses his arms out of stood over her heads for play, yelling in response.
誰もんなこと言ってねえだろ。そんぐらい強くなってみてっつってんだよ、このタコ。
The fistful landed squarely on D's head.
俺の武勇伝を聞かなかったのか、お前は。お前こそな、その薄気味悪いロン毛とっとと切りやがれってんだ。
Ace laughs self-styled. Battle wounded a few times before reaching out to the seas. D's no longer out of the front.
だってバイクで事故っただけじゃねえかよ。どこら辺をどうすれば武勇になるんだよ。
D yells the back of his hair yanked, tilted his body. Leaning against the wall, Akira watches as the voice player unfolded him dreads to the gaze. He didn't mind their antics. They carried on this regardless of his attitude. Without a curd of the world, he found it preferable of constantly being watching over his reactions. Perhaps on account of the unapproachable or Akira was often to target honestly of those around him. He saw no point of the putting in his false shows, commandingly relying on the others, the source of the place of himself. Although he will never say such an outright in the attitude, given an often day unwarranted quarrels.
おいアキラ、なんとか言ってやれよこいつにさ。一番バカなのはエースだよな。
With Ace's tug of his discerned parted hair, wolfing hands, D looked despitefully at Akira. He didn't mind his antics, but he had the limits of their drag on. With a heavy sigh, Akira finally spoke.
安心しろよ。似た者同士だから。
Oh! His voice! I can hear him! Both were probably the first words Akira was uttered since arriving. Almost as they rehearsed it, and the pair of identical expressions as they turned to look at him. Defeat. They both slumped their shoulders of the union. It was, it was the only thing that Akira noticed smiling at the audience as gathered to watch out of the ruckus. They were quiet and turned during. As he returned and gazed at the sky, a thought came to him. If one day moonlight no longer reached the place, it wouldn't matter much. Even without the light, it kept just crawled down and found ways to survive. That was the thing that led to the Akira back into the place of the Gantic again. These fleeting moments of the peace of the days filled with undies and the union of two. For that while longer, the parrot of the battle continues to echo in the calm darkness of the alley. It has only been an hour since an hour or two since the Akira fell asleep, but his precious slumber was absurd and true. It was a loud, thunderous banging on almost as the culprit seems attempting to break into the door. The footsteps are heavy. Each of them makes in the bed springs to the quicksilver of his unconscious friend of his nest. Half asleep, he couldn't quite grasp at what's happening. Akira's apartment is simply a single diabetic apartment block. Aside of the sink, built to the shelves and the windows and furniture, it was done with a simple bed and a fridge and a small lamp. It was the trinity place of walls and the floors of bare concrete. However, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter what the four carers, as long as there was a shelter from the elements of their extension of living in a comfortable. There's just no need for more. Now there will be disturbing the singularity of the cracks of dawn. A sort of observable blasters nursing to the brush. They would be surprised him. It was a regular occurrence. Feeling to the slump of the bed, the beginning of Akira was laying down with the face in the bed, even though it was the first one.
Oi, Akira!
The voice was spoken of the suddenly in hand with grabbing his banging and yanking his head. His ankle was wrenching and uncomfortably ankles. Uh-oh. There were the blasters' persistence. Two of the men of the class with the black uniforms and high collar. Police? Upon the meeting of Akira's square, the den of the face of the officer saw.
生意気な目だな。なんか文句でもあんのか。
Without letting go of his hair, his officer punches in the cheek.
一緒に来てもらうぞ。
なんでだよ。
Akira had no idea what clothing had brought for them here.
お前に殺人の容疑がかかってる。
Huh?
何
Taking him aback, glistened the well by the belt officer. Murder?
他の誰かと間違えてるんじゃないのか。
Although the supposed war dusted to begin to settle the certain parts of government system, was wrongful arrest and warrant uncommon?
だと
Jumped to the ground to the officer
話
twitches.
せよ。
Akira trying to fend off the grip of his hair and then until it clutches his tight.
まったく。最近の若い連中は礼儀の一つもなってなくて困るよ。本当にバカばっかりだ。そんな口を一般人が警察に聞いていいと思ってん
The
のか。
officer clutches Akira, presented to the seer.
白を切っても無駄だぞ。抵抗しても罪がかさむだけだ。ロストってお前のことだろ。ガキの喧嘩じゃ飽き足らず、とうとう殺しまでやっちまったが、しょうがないやつだな。
If they weren't known to the street, the name of this, there was Akira represents the blasters too.
ガキがたかだかストリートファイトで有名になったぐらいでいい気になるなよ。
俺じゃない。
言い訳ならいくらでも気が済むまで書で聞いてやるからな。
The officer's eyes now to contempt at his whisper. He abruptly let him go of his hair, and within a second is a well-built officer, him, dragging him out of the bed, forcibly pinning her arms behind his back.
話せよ。
黙れ!
As Akira tried to struggle free from linking to the officers, dragged to his back of his baton. The merciless blow to knock the desire at Akira's arms.
キリキリ歩けよ。
The thin upwards of the cops seems to enjoy himself, giving the cheek a playful tap at the end of the baton. Once in the walk did Akira push the girl to the front door of the The baseline is considered bad enough, but there's a shooter that gets the appearance of a man who truly kind of his anger.
あれちょっと
Jumping out into the room, Kira's ears is agreed to the voice of he knew. He was trying to see the kind face. It seems just like the moment that the captain was shocked. Kisuke stood frozen, and the hands of the outstretched towards the other's doorknobs. The oil strainer gave into the oil. He gave the warning the seams of the original blue hue.
Okay, 邪魔だ。
The ground police and rapidly shoves to the cascade outside of his baton.
おいちょっと待てよ。
Cascade regained to the balance. Quickly as it reaches through the shoulders of the officer holding Akira. The officer applies to him enough with the force to leave Cascade staggered. His eyes are wide as shock. The surprisingly need to make way to more anger.
待てって言ってんだろ。アキラが何したんだよ。
うるさい。お前も公務執行妨害で逮捕するぞ。
やろう。
Cascade trying to again to grab to the hold of the bigger man of his sense blind.
アキラ。
Having taken a quite a blow, Cascade collapsed to the ground to the low bone.
おら、歩け。
That can't be good. Got arrested. Anyway, the chief of Buster steals decks, showing the finally the inspector slams to the visitor down. It was a typical interrogation room, just like a ghost of the old detective dramas. In the light of the desk got a lamp. It features a middle-aged man, running him all the stone on the pole. With the lips resting on a positive, displeased scowl, he glares at Akira with the bulging eyes.
いい加減白状したらどうなんだ。あ?
His raspy voice has been repeating the phrase sometimes now.
人の話聞いてんのかこのコンコンチキが。
ケイブ、血圧上がりますから落ち着いて。
そうだな。少し落ち着こう。君、カツ丼でも食うか。
Anyway, I don't know what's going on here.
カツ丼どころじゃないわ。いいから白状しろ。しろ。
ケイブ。
それをよくせ。国民番号 11298TM3099 無職家族構成は父母のみ3年同居の後に別居ブラスター個人戦優勝経験あり別居ね優しくていいご夫婦だったそうじゃないか
In his mind's eyes, Akira saw the nearly blooded faces of foster parents. And what happens is kind of they're treating him well. I've been lucky in that. You've been lucky in that. But in the end, they weren't just strangers. No connections by blood.
犯行推定時刻
See,
は午前3時頃。ガイシャの死因は全身打撲による外傷性ショック死。アリバイなし。現場から半径200メートル以内にいた。しかもブラスターの常連ときたら
the inspector slams the documents into the
お
desk.
前がに考えられたろうが
Why did you bring the regular that blasters came to him the criminal? The police might be having a great impression of him, but it didn't make it guilty in any crimes.
やってない。
嘘つけお前がやったそうだな
As Akira gazed silently back to the inspector, and the other man caught the breath and started to point at him.
瞬きをした今お前は瞬きをしたな黙っていても目は口ほどに物を言うはい私がやりましたとにかく返すわけにはいかんおい連れてき
The inspector faces the flesh and says, solidifying, struck into the steel that decks it again, and so hard to the buckled it into the center. On cue, two officers entered the strain of the carrot at either side. If they were the same one of them, either then the face of the man is sturdy at once.
さて快適なお部屋へご案内だお前が住んでたボロい犬小屋より居心地はマシだろうよ
だったらあんたが入ればいいだろう。
Well, he doesn't even care that much. Much as I am, I don't care that much.
こいつほらさっきの勢いはどうした泣けよ泣きわめけよ
Kira don't care. He don't scare you. Yeah, this world is rotten. How long it has been since they entered this place? Even a part of his body anchored into being, the dull parts of the side is moving. The walls of the ceiling, bars, and the floor in the bed. The square inch of the cell of his uniform white. Why should I call you Mom? Are you not my real mom? Kira has been walking through to the streets, and the person in the front of the house. Suddenly, the child bursts out shouting. The woman is promptly the mother. The fathers called out a shrill voice, but the children ran off without as much as backwards glance. In the end, strangers could never be anything anymore. Another time, perhaps the things has been different, as I thought everyone is just utterly exhausted. There were no room in the other in the people's hearts anymore. It was very personal themselves. The sound of heavy door opening echoed through the faculty, and Akira halted the revival to look up towards. He saw the guard approach the shoulder square. Upon research of the solitary cell, Akira's occupied. He stops at the cast of the breathe, glancing inside and unlocking the side of the door and opening with it.
出ろ面会だ
面会
Let's see. The room Akira was ushered into the structure of white. It seems in the bleach. It seems to divide at the end of the final glass of the center. with one of the chair either side.
面会時間は10分だ。
The strange voice of the guard opposite the wall. Unfamiliar visitors already there, waiting for their cure on the other side of the glass. Oh! A woman seated as a man standing beside her. He never had either of them lived his life. One of them briefed the moment. He felt the threat of his looking at the pair of mannequins. It was just their face. They approached the hole that they were so vintageously neat and made of the figures it looks artificial. As the girl stood on the seat, the woman was lips distressed as face smiled, her skin's in the white as wax.
国民番号11298 TM3099 だな。
The number she was recruit in a personal designation gives him up as a state that he couldn't never get used to. He remains designed steady to gaze and fix on this woman. She returns a curious stares when his name is spoken again.
担当直入人よ。我々がここに来たのは他でもない。お前の殺人罪についてだ。
俺じゃない。
The woman smiles grim.
お前の容疑が晴れる可能性はほぼゼロに等しい。
Who exactly were these two? From the content of this conversation, it was clear that they weren't ordinary citizens, and there was something about their vibe.
自己紹介が遅れたな。私はエマ。彼はグエンだ。まあ、公にはできない立場のものとでも思ってもらえればいい。
In the shadows? Whatever that means, as I found out Kira was it couldn't have been anything good.
話を戻そう。今言った通り、お前の容疑が晴れる可能性はほとんどない。殺人罪を犯した者の末路は知っているな。
Her tongue that landed as Emma looks up to the test of the waters. With a faint innocence in the interest, Akira opened his mouth to answer.
終身刑だろ。
そうだ。当然、その恐ろしさも知っているな。
A life sentence? The law has been recently revised now, regardless of the circumstances, murder carried to the sentence without parole. Life imprisonment has become the most terrible punishment a criminal could have faced. It wasn't as torment and horrific as execution. Prisoners are given nothing that has been served them as a meaning of their own life, rather than come to the exact the suffering that this impossible is going to be required to kill them. Murderous fools employed, particularly a brutal Memphis, is something subjects that were the same fates. This is only in the person that serves violent crimes. This is the stated justifications of the torture.
このままだと、お前は確実に終身刑となる。
俺じゃない。
Kira was quite enraged as soon as his words glared at Emma, stronger than in the fear to the death of the suffering. Indication of the shears of injustice and burns the hearts inside her. He has been guilty or anything, or having it accepted as the consequences without an argument. Emma slightly tilted her chin, looked down under the nose of her Akira's
い
mockery.
くらここで無実を主張したところで、法廷で裁かれれば終わりだ。聞け。何もわざわざお前に最後通告をしに来たわけではない。要件はここからだ。
Emma's eyes as decided inspired to the challenges.
解放してやれなくもない。ただし、こちらが提示する条件を飲めばな。
条件？
I'm listening.
国民番号11298 TM3099 ブラスター個人戦優勝者、敗戦記録はなし。
どいつもこいつもよっぽどブラスターが好きなんだな。
Ever since interrogation has been grown a word has considered mentioning his track as a record in blasters. But Akira's words, Emma's gave us a slight
豊
chuckle.
島という町のことは知っているな。
Toshima. The question caught him off guard. He looked at Emma once more. Toshima. After the Great War, it's once its capital of the district within the old lands in the field of decay. While on the east and the west side, murder busy sharing to the revenants and reconsideration, criminals have quietly gathered. Now they stood at the disordered crimes of the city, the shadows of former themselves.
知っているという顔だな。それならイグラの噂ぐらいは聞いたことがあるだろう。ブラスターに参加しているのならなおさらな。
イグラか。
He wasn't particularly knowledgeable about it, but you hear the whispers.
同じストリートファイトとはいえ、イグラはブラスターのようなお遊びではない。命をかけた真剣勝負だ。勝ち残った者はイルレの座を手に入れ、名実ともに豊島の王として君臨する。
イルレ？
豊島を拠点とする犯罪組織ウィスキオの首領のことだ。連中はそう呼んでいる。イグラとはイルレの座をかけた争奪戦のことだ。最も強い者こそがウィスキオを率いるにふさわしいと、あの町の連中は本気でそう思っている。
ただの噂じゃなかったのか。
Leading the criminals, wasn't it impossible to choke the monkeys around and requires in the shape of a mind? Rooted inside along the wooden surface? If they were all opening in front of the views, it was clearly they would eventually destroy themselves.
それが本当なら、ビスキオは正真正銘のバカの群れだな。
だが、ビスキオは我々 CFC や日光連も無視できない巨大なシンジケートとして勢力を誇っている。それがなぜか、わかるか？頂点に立つ者が不動だからだ。イグラが始まってから今日に至るまで、現役のイルレを破って新たな王座を手に入れた者はいない。一人もな。
一人も？
イグラの開催者である初代のイルレが、今も腐敗の王としてビスキオに君臨しているということだ。裏を返せば、奴は腐敗の自信があるからこそ、王座争奪戦などという酔狂なゲームを始めたのだろうな。
In Akira's mind, the image of the man known as a Irie began to take root. The sudden cell and unexpected consequences. The events of the mastermind, an invisible champion, the ruler adds to the rigging by the challenging countless activities to comfort him. No one could have questioned the strength of such a man.
現役のイルレは最強というカリスマ性によって組織を一つにまとめている。奴の腐敗伝説が崩れれば、組織も崩壊せざるを得ないだろう。それが。
Emma paused, casting a chilling gaze upon Akira.
我々の望むところでもある。
Akira began to vigorously gasp. Where does the mysterious visitor have to come from?
要するに、イルレを打ち負かしてしまうような挑戦者を探している。そういうことか。
その通りだ。例えば、ブラスターで連続優勝を飾るほどのストリートファイトの熟練者などは、実に有望株だろうな。
The woman opposite turns to the clearly explains no need for questions. Go to Toshima and enter Ikura, engage in a deadly contest for the leadership of the criminal organization. That was the little cold-eyed woman who was asking for him.
あんたたち、国か警察かそっち側の人間だろ？いいのか？未来を担う若者を殺し合いに駆り立てて。
I see. Upon hearing Akira's voice, Emma gives it a short laugh of throat in her nose.
無期懲役囚が担う未来などない。それに、 お前の知る意味での警察とも我々は違う。我々は治安を維持するのではなく、治安の障害を排除する役目を負った人間だ。
Indeed, the officers have been interrogating Akira of those two individuals before he gives it off to the entire indifference in persons. These people seem like the type of handle this man handles the human lives of they're just numbers that account of the
これまでにも数回にわたってビスキオに侵入しイルレを暗殺する作戦が実行されたが、その全てが失敗に終わっている。イルレの守りは鉄壁だ。奴に近づくどころか正体をつかむことさえ叶わなかった。奴はイグラの決勝戦でしか姿を現さない。
また随分必死だな。
ビスキオは我々にとって目に余るほど大きな海だ。
So they're appreciative about justice. Make sure they keep their own hands on soil that wasn't it.
俺がイルレを倒したとして、もし新しいイルレが現れたら
Staring intensely at the max of the Emma's face, Akira questions her with a challenged tone.
もしかしたら俺が2代目のイルレになるかもしれない。
Emma was unfazed. Rather being provoked, she scuffs to the distracted of his as she sees right through the Akira's belt. She looked down on her nose at him. It was nothing more than a warmth.
お前が富や権力のためにリーダーシップを発揮するというのか？面白い。お前についてのプロファイリングはすべて検証済みだ。
She has his number. It was very thought that chosen to manage the group of makes the skin crawl. He had no interest in such a statue. None of them were earned board. But he would like to lessen the perspective around to the weight of behind the bars, set it as a false as accused.
選ぶ権利はお前にある。強制はしない。
I see. So, wanted to fight through.
成立だ。
Well, I think I should take the deal to fight. Okay.
それでは犯罪組織ビスキオとイグラについて簡単に説明させてもらう。
Okay. The man who held the silence at this time. Gwen finally spoke up.
まずイグラのルールについて説明する。重火器の使用は禁止、殺人は可。先に背中が地面についたものを敗者とする。また一度参加したら棄権することはできない。参加方法はイグラを取り締まるアルビトロへ直接希望を伝えて参加賞となるタグを受け取る。タグは5枚1組。どれか1枚を必ず首から下げておかなければならない。タグにはトランプと同じ数字と記号が割り当てられている。決められた種類のタグを5枚集めてアルビトロへ申請することでイルレへの挑戦権を獲得することができる。いつでも挑めるというわけではない。
In a monotone, this is like condensing of the information that laid out him. While some parts that remain inconsiderable, Akira is simply shrugging in silence.
要するに銃を使わず地面に背中をつけずタグを1枚首から下げ5種類のタグを集めればいい。
イルレへの挑戦権を獲得するために集めるタグの種類は
ポーカーと似たようなものだ。ロイヤルストレートと10以上のフルハウス。数とは関係ないがそれ以外は何を揃えても無効だ。
That means forming of the hands in the 10 jacket queen, like 10, jack, queen, king, and ace. One of the pair triple the cards of the less than 10 then.
面倒だな。
実際にはそれほどでもないだろう。右往の州にも通じるルールだからな。
出発は明日。武器、参加証など必要なものはこちらで用意しておく。それまで自宅待機、監視をつけさせてもらう。
Okay, tomorrow.
監視？
念のためだ。それに明日以降の手順についても連中に聞くといい。話は以上だ。何か質問は？
Lean back to the chair. Akira gives him a president's
不
stairs.
満なら
Okay.
ふん。
With her eyelid will almost slowly his nose at her feet.
それでは健闘を祈る。
Okay. Thank you. As she departed, Emma glanced at her shoulders. Her lips had curved into a sly smile. Akira wasn't the only one who cared much about people's appearance. But he couldn't have helped thinking that was the sort of smiles that suited her best. Man, what a tough time to begin in the game. Kira didn't do anything if it was a fight, it was a murder at the beginning of the game. Hold on. Let me do one more setting. Let me fix it. Let's see. Okay. There we go. Akira didn't expect the information of the surveillance as a quite screen turns out to be. A dual little black dishes are dodging at their set of presidents, sensing that they were just in the area. Something that apparently they were positive as the appearance of was suffocating. Their sharp, elusive appearance of planks and distracting Akira casually retired to an uncomfortable glance in the Paris. He walked down to the corridor, reached the entrance to the key room, and pressed it behind him that looks back.
どこまでついてくるつもりだ？
無駄口を叩くな。
He spoke upon as to look up to the out of the sign of it.
アキラ。
Ah, Keisuke.
アキラ、よかった。戻ってこなかったら警察に乗り込もうかと。
お前、ずっとここで待ってたのか？
He quite sometimes passed by since Akira was taken away.
心配だったし、アキラ戻ってくるなら真っ先にここだろうと思って。
In the middle of their conversation, one of the agents cut in. The man looming in the wall stood obviously between Akira and Keisuke.
不必要な接触は避けてもらおうか。
なんだよ、あんた。
Well, it's a big mission. Long story short.
お前に知る権利はない。
どけよ。
He tried to push it past to the man and didn't
邪魔をするな。
budge. The young man reached out to seize Keisuke.
それはこっちのセリフだ。
At Akira's voice, two of the agent turned and stared.
これが最後になるかもしれないんだ。別れを惜しむくらいいいだろ。
He definitely improvised at the last part. The man in the black suits appeared to consider it briefly before quietly broken into
10
silence.
分だけだ。
わかった。ケイスケ。
After this ended on, Akira called the cascade against it and unlocked the door. As he was about to enter the room, he had to constantly clutch to his shoulder.
待て。話だけならここでもできるだろう。
ここじゃちょっとできないようなことをしたい仲なんで。
Those two agents looked and
行こ
stunned.
う、ケイスケ。
It was a quiet conversation performance that he said so to himself. The angels saw once in the pulse and looked down at him instantly flustered. Keisuke was perhaps being shocked at their rendering speech. Akira was quietly leading himself inside and closed the door behind him.
Nandayo, sore.
Keisuke sat down to the bed, hands in the bracelet at the side of the wire-ass source.
そんなの卑怯だ。ありえないだろう。トシマなんて。しかも途中でやめられないんだろ。死ねって言ってるようなもんだ。
拒否したところで終身刑だ。大して変わらない。
でも
Keisuke grumps and looks us down. One of them was his being sentenced to his death.
どうにかならないのかよ。
With a low groan, lays back on his bed. Leaning into the depth of marching to Toshima made Akira realize there was no one other close enough to inform the predicament he had planned to inform anyone else of the dispute. However, since Keisuke was caught enough by the way up, Akira was hospital arms and some disordered explanations. The two of them were known as each other their orphanage days. They were just might be called childhood friends. I knew that from the beginning with. Wasn't that Akira hatred around the others? It simply didn't have his energy for anything. Burdensome of the cupcake, nonetheless, his blunted infidence attitude ended up pushing other people away. He never get it through, but it has been trapped behind and obviously is not like the most. He wasn't the internet relatable, but Akira appreciated a foolishly honest and straightforward nature.
ああ、もう
The bed creaks down and Keisuke suddenly sprung
な
up.
んだよ。
いや、俺がジタバタしてもどうしようもないんだけど。でも、なんか、いても立ってもいられなくて。
Seen on the foot opposite of the bed, Akira leaned against the wall and let out a small sigh.
俺の問題だし、俺が決めたことだ。
A small source of the light around the modest lamp flickered. Keisuke's profile is in the intense of the shadows. A little bit of his left, his gaze is fixed at a single point.
アキラは強いよな。
Keisuke mutters and stood up there, slowly with his tail, a long breath.
とっととタグ集めて、イルレとやらに勝ってくればいいだけだ。
Upon hearing those words, Keisuke lowered his eyes into the expressions. Of course, Akira knew that it was easier to say than done, but without any alternatives, if there's no choice to just do it. This really has nothing to do with him. Why does he get talking to so hard? Whatever that might be lying to the head, it was Akira's own choice to make. It was out of everyone else's hands. That much is certain. Yet when he looks at Keisuke, Akira became to that accused aware of the troubling feeling the person himself was. It was there it's been revised. Would it be able to live such a pain in his behalf? The answer is probably no. Well, time's up already. Hold on, let me text for a minute. Two days in a row. Sorry, I want to move. Frowning about his lingering headache and sort of sat up. He felt a little chill with a creep under his legs. He looked out to the digital clock of the refrigerator. At the hour of the sun and it's dawn yet. The visitors returned with Gerda Akira's round and sleeping in the car.
起きろ、出発だ。
Well, we gotta go now. You came this far, sister. I'm glad you enjoyed the gift. As long as you survive no matter what, it's good. Okay then, sis. Thank you. Thank you, Momo, I will. Anyway. Hold on. Let me just... Anyway.
どけよ。
Well, we gotta get going. So pick it up with the you beloved it using the druid blade. It was the light of the decorated design and slender silhouette, sleek and beautiful. The one of the difficult makes out of the characters attached to the base of the blade. The language must be in heaven in another country. It might be ticket. His preparation is complete. Akira steps out of the room, the bag in his hand. He didn't bother to lock the door. Mary's attachments, lingers and feelings. There was left to find that room. The sun has finally come to the haze of the still, brightened to the make of Akira's
これから豊島へ向かうためのルートを説明する。
Okay. Malachi takes over the book, the agent and details to the Akira's path. For the CFC to Toshima. It was more than less than a stranger there, so no one chanced to listen to his way.
案内人を用意してやる。国境で合流しろ。
Okay.
案内人？
少々雰囲気の変わった男だ。見ればすぐわかる。そいつがいれば旧祖地区も抜けられるはずだ。
Being able to pass through the old lands management is only the you know the route of the Toshima, but it's also the manner of the confidence of the abilities. It seems like it's all the scenes that up to the best of them. There's nothing else that Akira desires to begin to walk to the border. Even the CFC, which is undergoing an amount of reconstructions, and is surrounded by a soon of the resemblance of spirits of the band of about the scrubs. The gap between rich and poor, Jonathan when they're there ever. Learning of this contrast between the new contrasts of things in the border of the rooms. In this country, nothing is needless, luxurious flow, while there is truly need to be left the rest of the way of advantages. Akira even says the old lands, but it's hard to imagine a place even worse than this. Before long, decay and the sign, making it of a boundary, a region to come to the view. His steel figure is still beside it. The man watches Akira's silence and arm crossed. It was his guide. Just an agent and his just as clear at a glance.
あんたか。俺を豊島まで案内してくれるのは。
The man didn't respond. He fixed Akira's stare. His eyes seems to be present to anything. Final word. The man was taking his bag and started to walk towards the old lands. It was just creepy out, but Akira has no one else to rely on in this one. The only thing is to follow this sense of concern. This man has been a supposed guide is to be the complete unknown to Akira. He had heard of this the full day of the foot to reach Toshima. Through the path was straightforward to the small distance. Well, there's nothing else to choice to find the steps out of the old lands. His heart began to beat to the heavy thud. Winds and stresses as far as eyes could see, there are other ways to describe to the view. That was just an extreme devastations of the old lands. The sun should have been still been hiding a carry of meat to the guide. Yet to the sky he had given to the stars and below the cloak of the clouds. The shadow cast been along abandoned buildings, and the darker and deep in the night itself. The wrong turns in the run, one could have become lost, doomed to the one of the ruins forever. There will be where those who will meet to the fate of them never to return. There is another reason why no dare to the other old ones. Name of the beast. Naming the beast and lands in the lake. In Japan, splits into the Great War. Those who could refer to the CFC and then the current ended up to the old lands. It was those of the unfortunate souls of the call of beasts. Surviving the wasteland and the challenges of the least of the hunger and the death and the casino company. Little wonder as it seemed beast. The strength of the descend upon the other one passes through the pack of the start of the wolves. Once they caught you, they will become back alive. They were a hush, hungry to sign of the provided the air animalistics granted of the grounds. This handled the race of the footsteps. Yet the beasts of the world to be seen. Although the Kira could see the ruins of the shadows. His body stiffs a day of the spirit, yet to the guide. Seems he used to proceed unfazed. At times, the silhouette that seems to be behind the shadow is sifted and demanding the consent of the venomous of Kira. Suddenly, there comes a strange noises from somewhere nearby. Akira holds a distant attention to the surroundings.
構うな。
Suddenly, the guide will run into the round and the dashes towards him. Uh-oh. That's not good. He didn't even have the time for the wondering for something in the bursting out of the shadows, terrified speed. The guy tugged at his arm to make the body lash to his side. The heavy shoulder will whip past the side of the gaze into his shoulders. Heavy fellow that captured the prey, and the attackers planted the hands up into the ground and the flips of the body to the land. The guy calmly mutters at the click of his tongue and the movement is close to Akira. In his grasp, he's finally grammed to his knife with the 15-centimeter blade. The two of them were pressed in the middle, slowly close to the circle. The air was charged and intense. It has triggered the wave and it erupted into the chaos, into the side. Two sides of the carefully watches through their every move. Buckled to the pressure and misjudged in the timing. It will be over.
こんなところで心中はごめんだ。
奇遇だな。俺もだ。
It's back against the guys. Akira scanned it and surrounding by blurry
数が
eyes.
多すぎる。まともに相手をするな。
わかってる。
ブラスターのチャンピオンなんだろお前。なら楽勝だな。
The guy tones of his turn to mockery. Akira's only response is a heavy silence. Infurious, the girl gathered it grew to the face of the intense. The guy stays to the crotch out of the lower rate. Akira the intense and the entire body and nature. It's a setup to move to the movement came. Now. As Akira the guy leaped forward to finish the wolves that attacked the unit. Oh, nice CG. Dodging the thrust in the before him, Akira slips out of the passage through the sash. The howl rang out until the red book was sprayed into the air. And blasters, and the sight of the blood was common. One pounced another pounded it behind. He quickly tried to shake it off, seeing the fingernails playing through the shoulders. It was deeply painful. He responds to the back of the soda that came to the side. Swiftly they slashed it with the hands and gripped into his shoulder. Deeply screams it rang through the Kira's ear. Right as he was about to slash at the target hand. Then the weight of the slip of the back off and vanished.
構うな。走るぞ。
You gotta run fast.
奴らも深追いはしない。
Sure enough, then said it a noise that his has been displayed. As the day wandered pale, cloud of the skies gently shifted the murky gray. There would be something important about it. Yet today feared the clarity of the sunny skies of the Toshima area.
あんた一体何者だ。
It was Emma and Gwen's school that arranged about a man to be here. It was obviously their side, but even so. What I'm curious being sensitive of the beast. He caught a glimpse of the man on the edge of the vision. He had to delve with the other indifferences of the scaring and the swarm of the ants. The most of the trained of the ability. They think that there will be one feat that are honored through the surviving of numerous battles.
管轄は旧祖と豊島だ。
You see. Well, that makes sense.
都市まで馬鹿げたゲームが行われてるっていうのは本当なのか？
It wasn't a doubt that existed and everything has been told about it. But it could have been a sense in the element of Gwen, born out to do their way of conceal the identities. The purpose of the deal with Akira wasn't real. It was just the one of the truth of the one of someone who was exactly Toshima was on his eye. The guy with the glass to the shoulder, the Akira jerks at his chin.
行けばわかる。もう目と鼻の先だ。誰かさんがしくじったおかげで走ったからな。予定より早めの到着だ。
Akira looked up to the gas in the distance and managed to view the Toshima. Well, I think I should stop right here. There's a safe one. Good. And return to screen. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed playing Togainu. So, I'm gonna stop recording this one.